Hi there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids, where we teach little kids to talk and help parents understand their little kids. And today we're going to talk about boredom and why it is the best thing for your kids, and why it isn't actually boredom. So here's the thing. We live in a world that is connected all the time through the internet, where 3-year-olds can join soccer leagues and 2-year-olds have ballet classes, and 1-year-olds go to the library for story time. And we live in this age where you could actually spend your entire life not having any unstructured time. And you could do the same for your child. And developmentally, what we know is that is like the worst possible thing for them, because kids learn best through, number one, through play, but number two, through unstructured time. So when we are constantly shuttling our kids to activities that are interrupted every 45 minutes to an hour because kids can't pay attention so long, then we're disrupting the natural cycle of discovery and of depth that can come from, for example, and I use this example a lot because I feel like it's so emblematic of early childhood, watching a line of ants move across the sidewalk. That line of ants, in the same way that the ants are going to be there for a really long time, your young child could be there for a really long time. And I know that we often think of it, and I do too, often think of this as being a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, maybe 4, maybe 5. But if we are really providing this unstructured playtime for our kids, then it can be 8, 9, 10-year-old who is watching those ants. And they're learning from that, and they're playing from that, and they're having a really positive developmental experience from that, much more so in many, many ways than being shuttled to soccer practice or art class. So there's this push to overschedule our kids. The overscheduling is the thing that leads to not knowing what to do when you're bored. So boredom is actually not the problem, right? It's the problem is not knowing what to do with yourself when you don't have anything else to do. And the way that we learn how to do something with ourselves is by practicing it over and over again and by not having anything to do. And this has been a recent challenge for me because, and if you're a parent, you'll relate to this, where there's always somebody who needs me, right? There's always a kid who needs to be driven somewhere, or apropos of the activities, my kids are older, so they're in school, they do sports. And I could spend my entire life dealing with other people's schedule instead of my own. And so in those moments where I don't have anything to do, it's sometimes very difficult for me to figure out, like, okay, what is it that I should do now? And so I sit there and I'm a little bit bored. And then I find a chore to do around the house, and that's how I deal with it now. But for your children, and boredom, I would say, really doesn't come in unless kids have been really, really overscheduled since they can remember. Boredom really doesn't come in till like 5, 6, 7, 8, early, late elementary school. But again, if you've got a 2-year-old who has been in classes and been scheduled, every day, all day for a long time, then you might have a 3-year-old who actually is bored and wanting to do something. And what's our instinct when our kid is bored? Screen time. Or offering ourselves as the entertainment. And this is where it gets a little wonky, because yes, you want to spend time with your child, but no, you don't want to be the primary playmate for your child. You can't be. You're the parent. You have other things to do. And so, yes, there are going to be significant chunks of the day when you want to be interacting directly with your child, free of distractions, on the floor. Do the time in, which is the child-directed playtime. which I talk a lot about in my Toddler Talk online program. So if you're interested in that, check that out. But do have those moments, but you can't do that all the time. And I know the frustration that many, many parents feel, of young kids especially, is they feel like they have to be that person. And you really don't. Even a 2-year-old can sort of figure out what it is they're going to interact with, as long as you're in the room. Proximity is a thing for especially for 2s and sometimes some 3s. Certainly anybody younger than 2 needs you to be in sight, right? But that doesn't mean you have to be stimulating your child at all times. They can and they should have some space and some time to just do whatever it is that they're doing. So parenthood is this push-pull, right, of seemingly contradictions, and yet as kids are growing, they need different things. And so setting them up for knowing what to do with boredom, knowing what to do about boredom, starts really early. I'll give you a tip for anybody watching with slightly older children. One thing that I did when my kids were older is I made a list of chores that I needed done around the house, taking out the trash, vacuuming, washing dishes, yard work, any number of things. And I had it posted on the refrigerator. And when my kids, if they came to me and said they were bored, I would look at the list and say, great, I've got this for you to do. And guess how quickly they found something else to do? I don't think anybody ever did a single chore off that list. So that'll work for older kids, probably not for anybody younger than 5. But I'd love to hear what works at your house for eliminating boredom and sort of turning that around. So shoot me a note anytime, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.